Greetings again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of OSI Today, the podcast featuring news and views from around the Office of Special Investigations. I'm Wayne Amon from OSI Public Affairs. August 1st, 2023 marks the 75th anniversary of OSI's inception, and throughout the year, the Command is commemorating the occasion based on the theme, Inspired by Our Past, OSI's Future Starts Today. And with me to discuss how the 4th Field Investigations Region fits into that scenario is Region 4 Commander, Colonel Jeremy Waller. Colonel, welcome to the program. Always great to chat with you, sir.
Yes, you too. You too. It's been a while since I've seen you
Yeah,
and spoken with you. So thanks for having me on.
no problem, sir. Let's dive into it, shall we, with Region 4. Now, your region was created back in October of 1992. How exactly did that activation come about?
So Region 4 was created on that date. Actually, I mean, it became Region 4, but Region 4's existence goes back to the actual birth date of OSI in 1948.
Right.
So in 1948, it was actually established as District 10 under the original districts and the geographic alignment of OSI. And it was the headquarters was established on Kelly Air Force Base. District 10 operated in support of a massive amount of detachments and installations in Texas in the late 40s and early 50s in support of what was then Air Training Command.
Right.
And it was kind of at that time that the commander of District 10 at the time saw the importance of being closer to leadership and start building those bonds as somebody who was there to help support the customer, i.e. the Air Force, in a much more in-depth way, instead of being like an adversary to the Air Force, but being more closely aligned. So in the late 70s, it moved to the headquarters, transferred to Kelly, or from Kelly to Randolph, which is where ATC headquarters was as well. And went from ever since. So when Region 4 was stood up, just like some of the first regions were within OSI, the natural link between what would become Air Education and Training Command and Region 4 was right there on Randolph to support that customer. When Region 4 kind of grew into the big thing it was, and there's a lot of Region 4 kind of looked at it as one of the smaller, I guess, regions now, just because of the way time has grown. But back in the day, in the 80s and into the 90s, Region 4 was actually very, very big. It was about 27 detachments and OLs. And it also supported 2 MAGCOMs. So it supported AETC, and it also supported Air Force Space Command. So a lot of the detachments that are now underneath other regions, ICON, Region 8, Region 3, different. They used to be under Region 4 because it was so big, and so it's got a pretty dynamic background and mission set on that, if you will.
No problem. Yeah, I understand. Time sure changes the way things are constructed, no doubt about that. Now, Colonel, Region 4 is the regional headquarters for all OSI units to identify, exploit, and neutralize criminal and terrorist and intelligence threats to the Air Education and Training Command, the Air Force Personnel Center, Air Force Recruiting Services, the largest joint base in DOD there in the Alamo City, and as well as 2nd Air Force, 19th Air Force, and the Air University. Now, all that being said, what unique challenges does that diverse responsibility present for an organization like Region 4?
Yeah, so it's a good question. And I think by and large, what it boils down to is that we support the First Command, AETC, as well as the Air Force Academy out in Colorado Springs. Now, the great thing about that is that we are the region that provides the support for the gateway from the civilian world into the United States Air Force and even Space Force currently. We'll see where that goes. But so it creates a different dynamic of what's at your installation. So by and large, we get a significant youth population at our installations.
Hmm.
And they are people who are making that adjustment from civilian world where rules and norms and different cultures are different, and you're coming into a completely different world, if you will, wearing
Right.
uniforms, being told how to do specific things that you may or may not be brought up with in your background. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of adjustment, and for the people coming into the space or into the Space Force and the Air Force, for them to learn new ways of adjusting.
Hmm.
And so we get involved with some things that maybe folks either um, they were acceptable when they were in high school, for example, or they were in college, that they're now not expected norms, or they're just having a bit of an adjustment dealing with the transition from civilian to military life. So
Right.
that's one of the things. Another thing, in as AETC's part of their mission uh, is to recruit, to bring in new folks through the recruiting service.
Hmm.
We're kind of in this weird, interesting dynamic that I see between what it is that we offer as an OSI to Air Force leaders. In many places, like let's say Region 2 in support of Air Combat Command, or Region 5 in support of USAFE and AF Africa, we're posturing with forces to deliver security capabilities and what have you.
Hmm.
Well, AETC and recruiting service, their job is to get people to want to leave the civilian world and come to work for the United States Air Force. So unfortunately, some of the benefits that we bring to solving crimes, to talk about the things that we've done very, very well,
Hmm.
highlighting our successes, sometimes don't necessarily jive with the message that recruiting and the Air Force want to be there. Because
Right.
I mean, let's face it, parents and mothers and fathers and people want to join a safe and secure organization. And sometimes the things that we do to protect people within the Air Force and the Space Force, kind of people can turn to give it a different look, like, oh, I didn't know that those things went on. So we're providing a pertinent and important service to protect people and protect our installations. But sometimes that's the fine balance that we've got to walk with our supporting command. They're very
Right.
appreciative of it, and that goes without saying. But it provides an interesting dynamic. International students are another key piece because again, we get people from all over the world in AETC, some from, I mean, just all over the world. And so cultural norms and what's acceptable in those countries, the dynamics sometimes between different religions, men and women, what's acceptable and what's not, and how these things work. We've got to be attuned to those as we do our investigations. But we've also got to be in tune to the responsibilities to make sure we engage with like international affairs, understand the political side of that as well. So
Right.
those,
Right.
yeah, those are some unique things that we work with.
Very well put, sir. Now, if I may, I'd like to ask you, with Region 4 headquarters at Joint Base San Antonio Randolph there in Texas, what's been Region 4's key to successfully operating with such a varied customer footprint as you work with?
Yeah, so it's our people. It's our people that we
Mhm.
bring into the organization, into Region 4. And I know it sounds like kind of a template answer, but
That's okay. That's
but
okay.
uh, but but it's
It's
true.
true. It's true. Yeah,
I
it's true.
um constantly wowed and impressed by the folks that we have. But I'll tell you, I've been in Region 4 for 8 years.
Hmm.
And as much as I've been in it, it never really occurred to me some of the challenges that some of my counterparts in the other region commanders may have to deal with. But I finally figured it out one day. My vice commander, Lieutenant Colonel Andrea O'Connor,
Hmm.
she finally pointed it out. And it was so obvious, but I had never really seen it. Our detachments, my squadron, our detachments, and then our other locations, the overwhelming majority of my field leaders are experienced.
Right.
It's usually not their first time leading or commanding or being a superintendent or a
Hmm.
special agent in charge. And with that, when you've got a leader at a location who's on their second, third tour doing this, they bring with them a sense of confidence. They've done it before.
Yep.
They know that they know what the job is. They know what the mission is. They know how to take commander's intent and apply it at the field level to best support their customers. Well, when you've got regions, historically, Region 4 has been about 50% rookies. People on their first assignment. We're getting
Okay.
better. We're getting better.
Uh-huh.
But when you've got people that are making that jump from one career field to the next, and there's a lot to learn about being an OSI agent.
Mhm.
Having a field leader who exudes that confidence, who says, "Hey, don't worry about it. We got it. We'll get you there." And provides that sense of stability and everything's going to be okay. I think goes a long way to helping our people really get the mission done and execute the right way. Um,
Mhm.
I also think that one of the things that we've promoted also is um, I promote, and I know all my other field leaders say is like, hey, just because I'm an OSI doesn't mean I'm not part of the Air Force. Okay, I'm a career officer, I'm a career senior NCO, I'm a career civilian, career enlisted, career pro staff. So we encourage our people, even at our detachments, to be involved in first sergeant councils. To be in a part of the 5-6 clubs.
Mhm.
Be involved with the company grade officers council, so that people see us as team members at the base and not adversaries. And I
Right.
think having that relationship and giving folks that perspective goes a long, long way.
Right. Well said. Colonel, what are some of the mission milestones that Region 4 can reflect upon that have defined its legacy? I know the laundry list is probably pretty long, but what are some that maybe stand out for you?
Yeah. So as I was going through some of this stuff, it occurred to me, I haven't been the former or a former anti-terrorism specialty team AST commander. Um, when AST was stood up, it was stood up as an OL underneath Region 4.
Right.
It was
With
based
OL meaning operating location. That's for our novice
operating, yeah.
listeners. Yeah.
Yep, operating location. It
Yeah.
was technically Region 4 operating location dash AST. And it sat on Lackland. And its mission at the time was to support the 820th Security Forces Group. Um, but AST was stood up as a result of the Kobar Towers bombing and
Hmm.
the commission that recommended a lot of changes in how we posture for force protection. So
Right.
that's significant. And then AST morphed and changed, and it went under different regions. It went under Region 2, it went under Region 3, it went under Region old 7 at the time. Then it kind of dissolved, and now it's back underneath Icon. So that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it provides a lot of capability and rapid deployment for our folks and protection. Um, I know, I think our region's response, one of the big milestones that even to this day has had impact to not only how OSI approaches things, but also some of the changes we've made in policy and direction, our
Hmm.
expectations, but also some of the ways that we're going into the future is the way the command responded, and specifically a lot of the folks at the 11th Field Investigation Squadron at Lackland, how we
Hmm.
responded to the basic military training scandal that occurred in the early 2010s, so
Right.
2012 frame. A lot of the things that Region 4 did across and that trickled throughout the command, and the information and lessons learned out of that, both for the Air Force and for OSI and how we approach, have gone on to impact a lot of things that we do.
Right.
And I believe rightly now the impression that Air Force leaders have is that when you give OSI a job to do, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it right.
Oh yeah,
So that
definitely.
was huge. That was
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
No, no doubt about that. I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
yeah, but it's important to note too that even under Region 4, and Region 4 at one time had multiple what we used to call composition detachments underneath it.
Hmm.
So we had polygraphers, we had cyber crimes guys, we had forensic specialists, we had counterespionage individuals, all lumped up underneath Region 4, providing services all across the country. So if you look back at the history, as we restructured the command, a lot of that just kind of went away. But the expectation and the development of what Region 4 had put into place there in the early and mid '90s still continued as we grew as an organization. So,
Wow.
yep.
Well put there, sir. You mentioned the word people before was such a key component for Region 4's success. Here's another laundry list, I guess you can go through if you can. Who have been some of the significant contributors to Regions Four's success throughout the years? I'm sure the list is pretty long and pretty distinguished.
It is, yeah, and so I would have to looking back on it, and of course, it's I, again the answer is everybody's had impact, but
Right.
I'll tell you some of the things that stuck out to me in my time and as I've grown through my career is well, one, Colonel Glenn Cox, back when he was a District 10 commander, he was the one who really was starting to say, like, um, we should probably be right there with our supported MAGCOM, which is, he sort of had I guess, the idea and the vision to move the headquarters from District 10, which became Region 4 headquarters,
Hmm.
from Kelly, across town to Randolph, and say,
Right.
here we are, we're here to help. We're here to help affect the mission and do it properly in the right way. Um, I think that was pretty huge and
Yeah.
compelling with where we needed to go. And that's still back in the 70s, in the day where you hear stories of just how OSI was just not we didn't partner the way with the Air Force as we thought we would. I'll tell you what's neat is to see a lot of the Region 4 alumni roll through the command. And
Yeah.
what's really neat is I know we've got some graduates of Region 4 who have gone and done great things. And here in the next couple of months, we'll have Brigadier General select, but it'll be Brigadier General Bumgarner, who's a Region 4 alumni.
Oh,
She
yep.
ran the detachment up at Shepherd Air Force Base, which
Hmm.
is huge up there. But even then, I could tell back then because I was AST, and I went over to brief a Region 4 leadership conference one time, and I was a pretty junior captain, and I was briefing, and it was intimidating for me at that time because these are region commanders and
Right. Right.
leaders and everything. And she actually, I don't know if she noticed just kind of my nervousness or it's that, but it's also a part of who she is and how she conducts herself. But she put in a nudge for me in what I was saying. She said, "Yeah, I agree with what Jeremy's saying. This is what worked for me from
Yeah.
those." So it's just neat to see the level and quality of people that have trickled throughout the command and where they've gone on since.
Well,
It's really neat.
Well, like you said, sir, the list is pretty long as far as all the Region 4 success stories, and soon to be Brigadier General Baumgartner is among them. So that must give you a lot of sense of pride too, knowing that the folks who went through that region have done so many great things.
It is, yeah, and I know a lot of in talking with my chief and previous chiefs, there's a lot of region commanders out there who they look forward to getting somebody who's a Region 4 graduate because it's pretty intense what we do. It's
Right, right.
constant, it's nonstop, and it's there. And I like to think as I go out and travel around in the field, one of the things I constantly get from my guys is when they come to Region 4, they feel like it's a family, and that's the way I try to run it. That
Right.
from the field level to the region staff level, it's back and forth, and it's meant to be a positive experience and not combative. And creating that environment, I think, does a lot to improve the quality of life and help people through. It's already a demanding enough job. We don't need to make it even more demanding on ourselves by you
Yeah.
know by not looking out for each other. And I
Sure.
think it's a really good thing that Region 4 does, and I'm proud of that.
Sir, let's put on or grab your crystal ball if you can, real quick, sir. How would you characterize the future of Region 4? It certainly sounds from its history, it's got a real bright future.
I'm excited about it. I'll look back on it, or I'll look on it. So tomorrow's my last day of
Ah,
service, and so I'll look forward to seeing how all of Region 4 and OSI continues to grow and develop. But I think um, the the engagements that headquarters OSI has had, especially up with the air staff and with people in the Beltway, have gone a very, very long way with getting us the capability and the things we need at the field level. The additional advances in training, money for that, the advent of the indexing specialist. That's a huge
hmm.
piece that takes it off our agents' hands so they can go do agent things.
Right.
Pushing things back on other organizations that should be in their job jar. that we've just taken up for whatever reason and saying, nope, we have a different job to do for the Air Force, and that's what we're going to execute. I think Region 4 in the last several years has broken the normal narrative that goes along with Region 4, and traditionally that's been all Region 4 does is sex assault investigations and run drug ops.
Mhm.
Um, I've never believed that, and I think there's a significant counterintelligence mission to be found within the installations and organizations that we support, and I think we're telling that story now. We built up a national security detachment in Austin, Texas, which is helping identify things within our Region 4's area of responsibility,
Yeah,
but also helping show that there is work to do. The threat is everywhere, and we're getting after it just as effectively and with the same aggressiveness as our counterpart regions, and we're showing it now. So
I see. I
I'm
see.
excited about it.
Well, I can certainly tell by the excitement in your voice, Colonel, that you're very upbeat about the folks at Region 4, and for very good reason. Now, sir, before we wrap things up, is there anything you'd like to add about being part of OSI's 75th anniversary observance this year?
Um, it's cool, and like I mentioned, tomorrow's my last day, and it'll cap off almost 25 years of service, all of which has been in OSI.
Mhm.
But to be around an organization um, that I know, because I've seen it and I've been a part of it and I've watched it, but I know the people that go to work for OSI to help our Air Force, they go every day with the best intent and with nothing but other people in mind to try to make a positive difference for our Air Force and for our airmen assigned to OSI and for our Air Force. And that is a really, really cool thing to have been lucky enough to have been a part of, because not everybody gets to do it. And to have been able to do it for literally a third of an organization's existence,
Yeah, true. Yeah.
and have been a small part of that, even prior to 9/11 and all the way up through, combat operations. And now as we go into the future, that's really special. And I think that is really neat and something that everybody in our command should really be proud of and take a step back and, you know, cut out a little early on a Friday and just, go and sit there with your buddies and just think about what it is you do and say, yeah, man, we're doing some really neat stuff. And I'm proud to be a part of it. And pat yourself on the back because you earned it.
Very well said. Our guest has been Colonel Jeremy Waller, the commander of OSI's 4th Field Investigations Region. Colonel, thanks again for taking the time to be with us. Always great to chat with you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate the invite.
And thanks to all of you listening for tuning in. For OSI, I'm Wayne Amon saying so long for now.